Maggie had always been a hopeless romantic. She had grown up reading romance novels and dreaming about finding her own happily ever after. But as she got older, she realized that love wasn't always easy. She had a string of failed relationships, and she was starting to lose hope. But then she met Jack. He was different from anyone she had ever dated before. He was kind, thoughtful, and he made her laugh like no one else. They started dating, and Maggie couldn't believe how lucky she was. Jack was everything she had ever wanted in a partner. They spent every moment they could together, exploring the city and making memories. Maggie knew that Jack was the one for her, and she was sure that they would be together forever. But as she would soon learn, life had other plans. Jack's job required him to travel frequently, and Maggie tried to be understanding about it. They promised to keep in touch and make the most of the time they had together. But as the weeks turned into months, the distance started to take its toll on their relationship. They missed each other terribly, and the constant travel made it difficult for them to plan anything. Maggie tried to be supportive, but it was hard not to feel lonely and neglected when Jack was gone. She started to worry that they were drifting apart. One day, Jack called to tell her that he had been offered a job overseas. He didn't want to go, but he felt like it was an opportunity he couldn't pass up. Maggie was torn. On one hand, she was happy for Jack and proud of his accomplishments. But on the other hand, she knew that this would mean even more distance between them. They talked it over and decided to try a long-distance relationship. They promised to stay in touch and make it work. At first, things were okay. They texted each other every day and talked on the phone whenever they could. But as time went on, Maggie started to feel like she was losing Jack. He seemed distant on the phone, and she couldn't shake the feeling that he was slipping away from her. One day, Jack called to tell her that he couldn't do it anymore. The distance was too much for him, and he didn't think their relationship was working. Maggie was devastated. She had never felt heartbreak like this before. She tried to convince Jack to give their relationship another chance, but he was adamant that it was over. Maggie spent weeks crying and trying to come to terms with the fact that Jack was gone. She threw herself into her work, trying to distract herself from the pain. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Months went by, and Maggie started to feel like herself again. She had moved on from Jack, and she was happy with her life. But one day, she received a message from him. He told her that he was in town and that he wanted to meet up. Maggie was hesitant at first, but something in her heart told her to see him. When they met up, it was like no time had passed. They talked for hours, catching up on everything that had happened since they last saw each other. Maggie couldn't deny the feelings that were still there for Jack. She realized that she had never stopped loving him even after everything that had happened between them. Maggie and Jack decided to give their relationship another chance, and for a while, everything was perfect. They were happy, and it felt like they had never been apart. But as time went on, Maggie started to realize that things weren't the same as they used to be. Jack seemed different, distant. She tried to talk to him about it, but he always brushed it off. One day, Maggie received a call from one of Jack's coworkers. She told her that Jack had been cheating on her for months. Maggie was devastated. She couldn't believe that the man she had loved so much had been lying to her all along. Maggie ended things with Jack for good, and she knew that it was the right decision. She had been heartbroken before, but this time it was different. She had loved Jack with all her heart, but she knew that it was time to move on and find someone who would never hurt her like that again.